What we're doing now is speaking to the American people and saying, you have got to be involved in this process, because if you are not, the planet that we're going to leave to our kids and our grandchildren will be significantly less habitable.
5 rallies in a week, the only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise, and you heard it right here, straight from the horse's mouth, man. You think I'm gonna be sitting around in a waiting line for United when I can just jump on a $15,000 an hour private jet? That was Senator Bernie Sanders on Fox News, special report with Brett Baier, doubling down on his love for the high life, despite spending years railing against the very wealth and privilege he's now enjoying, probably been enjoying for quite some time. The interview came after a bombshell report from the New York Post exposed Sanders and his socialist sidekick, Representative Sandy Ocasio, or a lot of you guys know her as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for jet setting across the country on a $15,000 per hour private jet, a Bombardier Challenger 604, worth up to $7 million, to attend their so-called Fight the Oligarchy rallies. You know, the ones where they preach about taking down the evil billionaires and corporate elites who have too much power. Yet, the irony is thicker than the leather seats on that private jet. AOC and Sanders have been crisscrossing the country for a couple of weeks now, hitting cities like Tucson and LA and Salt Lake City and Bakersfield for this Fight the Oligarchy tour, where they lecture crowds about the evils of extreme wealth and income inequality. Meanwhile, they're stepping off a multi-million-dollar luxury jet that burns 365 gallons of fuel every 90 daggone minutes, spewing more carbon emissions in 2 hours than the average person does in a year. These are the same two who never miss a chance to play eco-warriors, scolding the rest of us about climate change while their carbon footprint looks like a monster truck rally. And let's not forget the cost here. I got to reiterate it again, $15,000 an hour to charter that plane, while their tour website begs for donations, claiming it's paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders, not the billionaires. Really? Because the last time I checked, the working class isn't shelling out millions for private jets. They're just trying to afford the gas for their commute, for their 10-year-old vehicle that they have out in the driveway. But anyway, good old I honeymooned at the Soviet Union, Bernie Sanders, well, he got called out on Fox News about his private jet use, and his response, it was basically, I'm too good to fly commercial. He actually said that. He's too good to fly commercial. Check this out.
Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week, the only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And hypocrisy is staggering with these people, man. This is the same guy who screams about the 1% and thinks he deserves special treatment because he's trying to save democracy. Give me a break, man. Cut it out. The hypocrisy is on 1,000 with these people, man. But Sanders has a history of this type of talk. He has a history of this. He spent $221,000 on private jets in just the first quarter of 2025 per FEC filings. AOC got caught flying first class to a rally last month, sipping mimosas while battling inequality, $1,100 ticket at a time. They're out here preaching socialism and environmentalism, but when it's time to travel, they're living like the oligarchs they claim to despise. It's the ultimate rules for thee, but not for me. It's the ultimate. These people are hypocrites, and it's no wonder People are fed up with the double standards, man. These people say that the planet is dying, but they sure don't mind racking up these carbon emissions when it benefits their movement. Remember when AOC warned that the world would basically end in 12 years if we didn't take drastic action? She claimed that crops yield would collapse, kids wouldn't be born anymore, the entire regions of the United States would become unlivable. Scare tactic after scare tactic after scare tactic. But then she has the nerve, the unmitigated gall to hop on a jet to give a TED talk about the climate crisis. Do these people even believe what they're saying? They love to pretend that they're the underdog, that they're fighting for the little guy. But at the end of the day, they're living large, man. Private jets, lavish events, multi-million-dollar properties, fancy speaking tours. They're not fighting the oligarchy. They are a part of it. They are the oligarchy. And while AOC and Sanders are out here living like the elites that they claim to hate, the media is busy setting the stage for AOC to be the next big thing. You heard the mainstream media pushing back on their hypocrisy? Of course not. Sure, Fox News, they called them out. But what about the others? CNN or MSDNC, usual suspects. They're either silent or making excuses like they did for years, covering Biden's gaffe and failures, covering up for Kamala Harris. And now that same media machine that propped up Biden, that propped up Kamala Harris, is turning its sights on AOC, hyping her up as the future of the Democrat Party, even as she's caught red-handed living a high life that she claims to despise. That's why people don't support people like this guy, AOC, and that's why people are no longer listening to legacy media, because they lie. And that is all they do. If they are talking, they are lying.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. But when you start seeing numbers, real numbers, like what's going on in Georgia, suddenly you feel like telling Democrats that are bitching and moaning about what the Harris campaign's doing, hey, calm down. You know what? Victory is in sight in less than 3 weeks. AOC may be more progressive than a lot of people. I also understand that she's one of the most articulate, exciting people in the Democratic field. Listen, Democrats, their approval rating is just absolutely disastrous. They don't need to keep getting people like in retirement, past retirement age, being their voice. They need somebody young like AOC. And again, it's not about ideology. She can carry the message forward for a Democratic Party that really needs to reach out to younger Americans.
Scarborough thinks that AOC is articulate. This is rich, man. They really think that AOC is articulate and the answer to reaching young voters. It's rich, man. And you know what? I mean, on paper, maybe she is. Maybe she does speak the language of the progressive base. She goes viral. She's got the look, the energy, the crowd appeal. But let's not forget what she really stands for. This is the same woman who wore a tax the rich dress to the Met Gala.
My God, tax the rich. What a model, AOC. What up? I didn't know you model as well. Damn.
Do you remember that? This lady had the nerve to put on a tax the rich dress while hanging out with millionaires and billionaires, sipping champagne while preaching socialism from the red carpet. And again, she's not alone. Bernie Sanders is right there with her, flying around the country in private jets while telling the rest of us to carpool and stop eating beef because climate change is going to kill us all by 2030. Let me ask you something. When was the last time President Trump told you to change your lifestyle for the environment while riding around on Air Force One or Trump Force One preaching about climate change? Seriously. When? Never. He didn't. He doesn't. Because Trump never pretended to be something that he's not. No phony virtue signaling, no playing dress up to impress the woke mob. Meanwhile, these Democrats tell us to sacrifice more, pay more, eat less, own nothing, while they enjoy the perks of the very system that they say that they hate. These are champagne socialists. Y'all heard me say it. Champagne socialists through and through. And now they're trying to convince America that AOC is the future. Yahoo Finance interviewed her back in 2022, asking her twice about the Fed and interest rates. Now, you think your future president would have a clue about what she's talking about. You think, but take a look at this. It is very clear. She has no idea what the hell she's talking about.
I want to ask you about inflation and interest rates and Fed Chair Powell, who recently said that the strong labor market made it appropriate for him to soon raise interest rates. I wonder what your take on that is.
Well, I think particularly when we have this conversation in the context of inflation as well, it's really not just labor, it's not just rising wages, but there's a lot of different dynamics that I think are contributing to the increase in prices, whether it's supply chain complications, yes, labor issues, but sometimes lack of labor, a lack of the ability to be able to work consistently in their jobs, which is also tied to pandemic controls. And also, there's a real distinction to be made between inflation and price gouging. And there's a lot of evidence that particularly industries with high concentrations, corporate concentrations, whether it's almost oligopoly level industries, a lot of these price increases are potentially due to just straight price gouging by corporations.
Are you concerned about inflation and higher interest rates and the impact on working people?
I mean, wherever prices are increasing and it's making it difficult for someone to be able to feed their family, that is always going to be a major point of concern, a primary point of concern. But the real key is making sure that we're diagnosing the causes correctly, because the danger here is that if we say we're helping working people too much and say that the cause of this is, oh, it's because we provided too much assistance during the American Rescue Plan, stimulus checks were too generous, that is why we are dealing with the problems that we're dealing with now, what that's going to result in is a pullback in the assistance that some families need the most right now. And when we already talk about the cessation of the child tax credit with the failure to pass the Build Back Better Act before the end of last year, we really need to be very careful about diagnosing these issues correctly. Because on the flip side of that coin, if we say there are real antitrust issues here, there's a lot of corporate abuse of power leading to price gouging, then that allows us to pursue lanes such as antitrust and also pursue labor protections, COVID protections that can help people get back into the workplace and stay safe in the workplace.
What the heck is she talking about? Seriously. What is she even saying? Seriously. How many economic catchphrases are you going to throw out there to make it seem like you know what you're talking about? It's just a bunch of jumbled words used in politics and economic circles, all strung together without meaning and with the occasional price gouging, which is their favorite go-to, because unfortunately, some friends over on the left don't seem to understand how the Fed or interest rates work. But sure, this is the future of the Democrat Party right here. This is the future of the Democrat Party right here. Someone who is a socialist influencer. Yeah, good luck with that. The working class didn't buy it in 24. Latinos didn't buy it. Black voters are not buying it. Even young people are starting to realize that this whole progressive climate hysteria movement is just a cover for more government control and more elite hypocrisy. The Democrat Party has abandoned the people it once claimed to represent. They've become the party of bureaucrats, coastal elites, and trust fund revolutionaries. And no amount of AOC TikToks and Bernie tweets is going to change that. What we're seeing is a massive disconnect between what these people preach and how they actually live. Their fight against the rich is brand. That's pretty much it. It's just the brand. Their climate emergency is a business model. That's all it is. It's a business model. It's all about attention, donations, and control. And let's not forget, AOC and Bernie aren't even doing their jobs. They're out here campaigning in a non-campaign season. We're in legislating seasons, folks. This is the time that they're supposed to be in DC working on bills that is going to better the nation. But instead, two rich people are out here flying around the country talking to poor people about how bad they have it. Crazy to me. This is a time that they're supposed to be working. They're supposed to be writing laws, representing constituents. But instead, these folks are on tour like rock stars, peddling fear and flying private, telling you to tighten your belt while they loosen theirs. So when they tell you you're the problem for driving a truck or eating meat, remember, they don't believe their own rules apply to them. This isn't about saving the planet. It's about saving their careers and consolidating their power. They want to dictate your lifestyle while preserving every luxury in theirs. And that, my friends, is the progressive elite in a nutshell. And Trump had something to say about all of this, too. Talking about the future of the Democrat Party on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Take a look at this for yourself.
They put her, and we didn't know, was she good? Was she bad? Nobody knew too much about her. Most people didn't know the name Harris, right? You know, they knew Kamala, they didn't know Harris, but she got up and she turned out to be a total disaster for them. But I'm telling you, they're just, if you look at their, hey, we have a big bench. We have a beautiful bench with a lot of very talented people. Look at the people they have. They have somebody named Crockett, and somebody was telling me she's the future of the party. Oh. And I figured, this will be good. I look forward to watching her, and I watched her. She's a low IQ person. Very low IQ.
AOC is the future of the party, and she has charisma. Do you think she can win? Do you think she's going to be their nominee in 28?
I think you're right about the charisma. I don't know about her speaking ability. I don't know about her debating ability. I don't know how she is, in an interview, because you rarely see her being interviewed. Rarely. And that's a bad thing, because usually that means something.
Yep. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Trump is right. She absolutely has charisma, but why are they sort of hiding her from the spotlight? Sure, she's out there doing these fighting oligarchy rallies with Bernie, but when's the last time you saw her on a mainstream TV sitting down for a real interview talking about real topics? She's not on MSDNC. She's not on CNN or any of the other usual friendly outlets that love to prop up Democrats. Now, compare that to Bernie. He's on Brett Baier, taking the heat, even if he's tripping over his own hypocrisy. So what's the deal with AOC? I think the Democrats and their media allies are playing a careful game here. And it's not hard to see why. If AOC went on MSDNC or CNN, the first question any honest journalist would ask is, hey, how do you square flying on a $15,000, an hour private jet while preaching against the rich and climate change? But here's the catch. Those outlets aren't going to ask her that. They're too busy hyping her up as the next big thing. Like we saw with Joe Scarborough the other day. They'll softball her questions about her vision and for the party and things of that nature, but they won't touch the jet scandal or her first class mimosa moment, because they know it'd make her look like the hypocrite she actually is. And the Democrats, they know it as well. That's why they're keeping her off the airwave, letting her stick to controlled environments like rallies where she can preach to the choir without facing real scrutiny. They're terrified that if she gets pressed on her contradictions, it'll tank her image before she even gets a chance at a 2028 presidential run. And Trump nailed it when he said, you never see her get interviewed. And why? That means something. It means that they're protecting her, plain and simple. They're betting on her charisma to carry her, but they're not ready to risk her getting exposed for the fraud that she is, at least not yet anyway. But I want to hear what you guys say about this in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Share this video. It needs to be seen. Share this with friends, family, people that may or may not agree with us on this side of things. Turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. And if you'd like to support this channel financially, consider joining the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee. That link's in the description box below as well. I appreciate everybody that supports the channel. I appreciate everybody that supports me and what we do over here at ARP, A Righteous Perspective. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up, and we will catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.